Hi everyone, I wanted to share a few thoughts. Obviously, I'm getting attacked from all sides because the rapture has not taken place yet. I want to once again tell you that I don't claim to be a prophet, but only someone who is studying the prophecies and doing my best to obey what the Lord told me to do, which was to write something for those who are left behind to show them what has taken place was the rapture event and not something else. Whether you believe me or not, there is a date that is set for the rapture to take place. God has a plan from beginning to end, and it's all written in His Word, the Bible. The rapture will not take place on some random day just because God decides suddenly that He's had enough. The rapture is an event that has a preset schedule, and if we study the prophecies, they will lead us to the exact date of when this event will take place. I was never completely certain that the rapture would take place on September 23rd or 24th, but I am certain that if the puzzle that the Lord has shown me is correct, that it must happen by October 6th. I still believe that there's a strong likelihood of something taking place over the next day or so, and I'd like to share with you why I believe this. Whether it's the rapture event or something else, like an asteroid hitting the Earth, time will tell. The new moon was sighted 2 days late in Israel. I did not know if this meant that everything would be delayed by 2 days on God's timetable, but at this point in time I do believe that God's calendar is going by the sighting of the new moon in Israel, which means that the true Day of Atonement on His calendar is September 25th, or today. In Revelation 8, we see an angel taking the golden censer and offering the prayers of the saints as incense to the Lord. This was only done on the Day of Atonement, so we can be certain that what John is seeing here was pointing us to the Day of Atonement. Right after the angel does this, the asteroid or meteorites begin to be hurled to the earth in the first 3 trumpet judgments. If September 25th is the true Day of Atonement, we can expect to see something start to hit the earth soon. The Pope is now in New York City and is expected to address the United Nations in a few hours. The Desolation event has been delayed. We saw the Abomination take place on March 22, 2013, when Mr. Obama stood in the holy place. Jesus warned those living in Judea to flee to the mountains, which I believe is both a warning to unbelievers to get out of the cities and flee to the mountains if they hope to survive what's coming, and it's also a message to the believers in Christ that they will be taken to the heavenly Mount Zion at the time of the rapture event. But the desolation was delayed. If you read Matthew 24, you see the words holy place are used in describing the abomination event. In Mark 13:14, we only read, when you see the abomination that causes desolation standing where it does not belong. Mark does not mention a holy place. He only says that when you see standing an abomination that does not belong somewhere. To be honest with you, the Pope visiting the White House, then speaking to Congress, then speaking before the United Nations, would certainly qualify as an abomination standing where he does not belong. It makes sense to me for the Pope to go to Philadelphia and speak to Catholics and perform a Mass. But since when has the Pope ever stood before Congress and then given a speech that does not even talk about Jesus? Did he belong there? Does he belong standing before the United Nations tomorrow on the true Day of Atonement on God's calendar? Could the desolation event happen right after his speech tomorrow as the true Day of Atonement comes to an end? Well, this is a possibility. I'm not saying that it will happen tomorrow because, as I've said before, the puzzle does not have to end until October 7th, but I think it is possible. When we count 500 days from when the French foreign minister gave his speech in Washington, D.C., we come to September 25th. The next morning from Paris, he said, we have 500 days and not a day more to avoid a climate disaster. Again, this would point us to September 25th or possibly the 26th as a climate disaster. The Pope has been speaking a lot about climate change. Could this be their way of warning us that the climate is about to change because of something that is coming? The scriptures point to this time period over the coming 12 days as the time for these events to begin. As believers, we need to be watching and prepared for what is coming. God's judgment is about to begin. The Day of Atonement in the Old Testament was about the sins of the nation being atoned for. The gates of heaven would close at the end of the Day of Atonement, and the fate of the nation was sealed for the coming year until the next Day of Atonement. If today is the true Day of Atonement on God's calendar, and if the Lord is going by Israel time, then the gates will close at around noon tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, in the United States, just a few hours after the Pope addresses the United Nations, standing where he does not belong. Will America's fate be sealed from that moment? Will the desolation event begin right after that? I don't know, but I do think it's possible, especially with the 500 days ending on September 25th. Please be prepared either way. I believe these events are going to begin within the next 12 days at some point before the Jewish feast days end, and if you are truly watching the signs with the solar eclipse, blood moon, and Draco meteor shower starting on October 6th, which would represent the stars falling from the sky from the Dragon constellation, you should agree that the signs in the sun, moon, and stars are all there that the Lord told us to watch for. We are in the season for these events, whether they will begin tomorrow or they are still 12 days away at the very end of Tabernacles. We are living in the days prophesied in the Bible. God bless you all, and keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. He is coming for his faithful bride.